So you want to play More Dakka, where Mork Perry has come and figured it out because he has officially won his GT with his legendary More Dakka list. He also made another interesting tweak to it since we very recently just talked to him. So thank you for being here, Mork Perry. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Ready to Dakka.
Congratulations on your win, dude. I mean, the video last one caught off pretty well. People were really into it. You know, one of the main feedback comments that we get sometimes, maybe they're in jest, maybe they're in praise of you. Nonetheless, they'll say, well, only he can run that. What do you got to say about people thinking that what we're going to get into is only able to be ran by you because it's More Dakka? You know, people don't really favor the detachment. They think it's kind of dead. What do you say to our fellow war bosses that maybe are not too confident in this?
Learn some new skills. Understand that the fundamentals of this game are always shifting, but there's always lots of tactics and strategies that you can take advantage of if you just learn to do it. Understand your mistakes. Understand what you're good at, and understand how a list operates and how to play the game inside the game that you're playing with your opponents. I think those are the skills that if you don't understand something, if you can learn how to understand it, you're only going to get better as a player. Step up, get good. I play a lot of Dark Souls and Elden Ring, so like, what am I supposed to say there and say? Like, come on now.
I'm a slight masochist. No, I'm just kidding. That no,
just a little bit.
Yeah, the good games. That yeah. So we also have some pictures of his deployment because that was another feedback thing we got. People wanted to at least get some visuals of how it would somewhat look. So we'll go over that as well. So let's show off the list. It does have a minor tweak from last time, but if you haven't seen it before, let's go over it. We have Boss Snikrot, Gazgul Thraka, and Zodgrod Wartsnaga, followed by
boys.
Try to mess it up. 3 10-man units of boys, followed by followed by another 3 10-man unit of shooter boys, and of course they all have the rocket and they all have the power claws. Very important as we go over this why they all need the power claws. The big unit of Gretchen for Zodgrod Wartsnaga, a 10-man unit of Gretchen, the legendary 30 commandos with all the gubbins, right? All of the different war gear options. Very nice to see the custom shooter finally get some love. The actual tweak here, some Mega Knobs, right? The big 6-man unit of Mega Knobs with the custom shooters on our Gazgul Thraka instead of the 20-man unit of boys. So we'll have to talk about that. The Mech Gun, the draw the dead card, bring it down, hilarious. Followed by 3 5-man units of Storm Boys and 3 minimum size units of War Bikers. So, of course, let's get into the change real quick. What's up with these Mega Knobs over the boys? I know when I first used your list and I gave it a couple tries, I did find the boys to be, maybe in the way and maybe a little hard to kind of use keep safe. But then at the same time, they could whip out and do cool things. So what made it so efficient to change it? Because it was already a good idea. What made this a better idea?
So one, obviously having a 2 performance save was huge. It's only 20 more points than a 20-man boy squad. T6, 2 performance save, big deals. But if it's always in the wall, you're really maximizing that feel no pain. That feel no pain is massive because it also gives Gaz protection from precision.
Yes.
You're in the wall, he's in a feel no pain. Precisioning him out is just not realistic in most places.
Yeah.
Then also, they got more shots than the shooter boys do in the 20-man squad. They all got custom shooters that's either 24 to 36 shots on top of Gaz's 12 to 16. So like they're maximizing that. They're a lot like they're also like the shooter is real. Like I'm gonna give you a heads up. Like when we get to the night stuff and some of the death guard things, I'll tell you how I was just dropping stuff with 200 plus shots. Yeah. And a map is there where like you can kill not a knight, but you can chip like half of the knight's wounds off with just shooter shots.
So outrageous.
If you're in the wall. It's crazy. Anyway.
Talk about the strats on that or whatever you did use. But yeah, so what's up with what else is up with the Mega Knob, the kill saw, those things?
The kill saw was there mostly to help out with dropping some bigger targets. Power claws are really strong, but I wanted that AP3 And since they're always in the wall, like the kill saw has free attack, so I'm not feeling bad about that. And then like with the strat, I don't need twin kill saws because I'm strength 13 in the wall, plus one a wound, one CP real, one's the wound. So it's like I'm twin linked, and it's also triggers off the gas.
Yeah.
So it's the best of both worlds. I have a shooter and I'm pseudo twin linked. And that unit was the MVP. Like it was crazy how much stronger that unit was than the boy squad. For one, I didn't have to worry about protecting it as much from chip damage. Second, much smaller footprint, but also protecting gas. And honestly, it takes a lot of heat. Like when it is exposed, I found when I went in with gas, opponents did have a player to deal with the boy squad. They could probably drop the 20-man boy squad relatively easy. Yeah. 6 Megadovs are much harder to get through, even with anti-tank stuff, because your T6, so like strength 10 weapons are not winning on 2s. Your 2-up armor save and cover more than likely, like you are taking your AP2, you're getting 3-up saves. There's a lot of AP2 in the game, and AP3, you're still getting 4-up saves. And then on top of that, noise marines aren't blasting you away. Blastmasters are not great in the Meganauts. Mm-hmm. Versus both the hot even profiles. And then the field of pain just goes extra limit, protecting gas. And what happened a lot was, you would have a big scary model like right here, and you would wrap all your boys around it, and you would put gas or like 1 mile touching there. The rest of the boys, 20-man boy squad, didn't get a swing in melee. That's why I think like half of it is not melee, because only a few guys would get a swing in melee.
Yep.
But you can surround something with 6, 7 orc units that has a big scary character. Let's say a Dark Angels unit of the champion guys with all the swords of Azrael. I forgot their name completely at the moment. You can touch one of their models with gas after charging with all the boys, and then have all the Meganauts base up against gas, and they'll still get a swing. Right? So you're maximizing that gas's footprint, and then all the rest of the boys say if they want to interrupt or fight on them, only one guy is ever going to swing back on gas's unit. Versus like the boys, you're not getting at the same level of pitting. On top of you have to now compete 20 boys with like another 30 plus models. So you minimize that footprint for technical plays, and you could just take a whole lot more hits. And you're not weak. That unit was really like the big anti-infantry fire power magnet. So like I had to be a little bit more safe with this. Versus Meganovs are not prone and weak to anti-infantry fire. That unit can tank those type of shots. Most of those are strength 4, strength 5, and the strength 6 ones are winning on 4. Then you got a good armor save, you got feeling pains, etc. And it just crumps. I don't know. It was the MVP because it acted as my anvil. I hit you with the rest of the army of sacrificing the board state, and then Gaz's unit a lot of times in the end game was just like, 1v1 me, right? With 4 or 5 Meganauts at this point, or maybe full 6 after the rest of the army has been simplified. Like nothing is 1v1ing this unit in the game that easy. Yeah.
No, that's actually a really great takeaway from when I used the list. Of course, most people would just be like, well, if the entire focal point of this list is you declaring the war on Gaz every turn, well, I'm going to precision him out. And that you really got around that with a big deal on top of still giving more anti-big, anti-high armor, anti-whatever it needs to be that the Meganobs bring that's better than the boys. So it totally makes sense as a change for this list that I would appreciate for sure from that before, because it sounds like a wall, right? First you got the Mandos infiltrating, taking all the midfield, just like it would be in a lore, and then you got a bunch of boys coming in and bikers coming in small units, and you're taking them all down. And then at the end, after they've chewed all your chaff, there's Gaz and his bully boys, all on feel no pains, all hyped up, ready to advance shooting charge, spraying you with the 30 shots, 40 shots, which is utterly outrageous. So I love that. So let's get into and actually, how are you? Some people still doubt the Zod, right? And so how would you really incorporate Zod alongside this Gaz?
So you hit people with Zod and Gaz at the same time. You do not just sit there and say, hey, look, I'm going to My starter units are the 3 biker squads, 3 storm boys, 6 commandos. All those units operate really well with not being in the law. So turn 1, I don't need to do the law. I did do the law a fair amount of times. Turn 1 with the fury of this list because sometimes people are just like, I'm like, I gotta fight you if I'm gonna die, so they just run at me. So I walk back at them. But when they're in a position where they can't fight me, those 6 units allow me to, or those 12 units allow me to develop the board state. Or turn 2, I'm calling in the wall. Gaz is going in, 60 boys, and Zod. And they're just dominating the board state. I have all these OC2 bodies, I have all the sticky objectives. I steal people's home objectives typically by like turn 2. And because Zodgrod's wall turn 2 is very safe to go into there in a lot of places. You have to really bunker down the home objective, and you hate to have to do that against orcs where they're already dominating the midfield, right? Then you have more units that have to guard the home objective and not on the front lines fighting boys.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Zodgrod units running escort for the Meganobs, right? Like I will surround that Gaz's unit into go charge something and surround it with Zodgrod, bikes, storm boys, all the boys, and make it where I'm like, yeah, you're just not getting into them, right? A big mega death green tide ball. And with all that said, that's one of the really big benefits of having those troll crash units is Zodgrod gets to go in later in the game, and like that man, like really gets some mileage when you have to deal with both Zodgrod's unit correctly and Gaz's unit correctly. Why boys develop both your stickies, your jailing, and trading away.
Yeah, I love it. I love my boy Zod. And as you said, you can use him to kind of take some of the heat off of Gaz's unit now that his profiles got a little smaller, right? If they have a big unit they're trying to hit him with, Gaz, they can't pile him in. They got to pile into a bunch of stupid grots. You bring some more OC. Yep. Very sick. I love that. So let's go into the matchups, as we said. So starting off, we get stinky with it. We have Death Guard with a Demon Prince of Nurgle, Lord of Contagion, Lord of Virulence, Malignant Plague Casters, 2 of them, and a Mortarion. 1 Chaos Rhino, a big brick of Blight Lord Terminators, a Chaos Spawn unit, excuse me, guys, a Death Shroud unit, 3-man unit, as a 3-man, 2 Floated Bloat Drones with heavy Blight launchers, and 2 10-man units of Poxwalkers. So how this game kind of develop and unfold? How are your small arms fire? What's up? This looks like you got a lot of units compared to them.
Yeah. No, I think I had more sticky models than they did, and they were just sticky detachment. So that's kind of funny to say out loud. So this is one of the pictures that I posted in the More Dakka sub Discord in the WAAAGH our Discord, so go check that out. Where I kind of developing with this list, one of the other changes was from the previous version was I had Beast Snagger Boys, and I found the Beast Snagger Boys after an RTT, a team event, everything else. Like they were just not performing well enough for me. Like they weren't pulling their weight. They're always definitely my lackluster units for what I wanted them to do. I just wanted more boys, but I couldn't have more boys because I already had 5 units. I really wanted 6 units of boys. All right, and I wanted 6 10-mans. And so I got that. Well, one of the tactics that I'm developing with this was, with this list, we talked about this in the past, whereas my list technically has 15 knobs. Okay? We got, all the Commander knobs, the Storm Boy knobs, the Biker knobs, and then I have 6 boy squads. This one still has 6 boy squads, right? Not the 2 Staggers, 2 Shooters, 2 Slugger Boys. Now it just has 6 units of boys with Shooters and Sluggers. So, if you look over on this natural objective onto the left-hand side, there's a big old horde over there. So I found a tactic that was really hard to deal with boys. When they're side by side each other, they're hard to engage. When you have units, right? What you do is you string them out, you stack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 all the way down. And then do the exact same. And make sure they're practically base to base, right? And you're putting every other one. So I'm burying Slugger Boys, Shooter Boys, Slugger Boys. Okay? 50 boys total, right? Operating all the domains. And I put the knob and the rocket launcher on the 2 front models. Okay? So all suddenly I have, 5 knobs that practically have 45 boys to escort them for wounds. Right? And what happens is when they're base to base like that, bigger power units like Hellions, as a future for something that's future talk about, or other melee units that are really good about getting up from one boy squad and just killing it, are not good about engaging 5 units at once and not killing all 5 units. Right? There's a few units that can engage, 50 boys and just obliterate them.
Yeah.
And what happens is if you have one model here, if you only want to charge one model, you're only going to get 1 or 2 models to swing. You're going to base that one dude, and 2 of your guys are going to base that guy. And then also I have auto heroics into you. And I just, I'm swapping you down, right? Or you engage all 50, and also, all five knobs are going to activate, and they're probably not dying. Because you're funneled into swinging into 1 unit at a time because you can't get a whole 10-man squad to swing on 1 unit model. So they kind of have a way that they almost block other people from fully activating into 1 unit.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I did, as you can see over there on that flank, is I just marched all 50 of those boys onto my natural objective on the left flank. Okay, I put 5 units of boys with their knobs and their rocket launchers behind them, and they flipped in Pragmatic and Octopus. Like, they normally are all over the place. They were blocked and layered like a cake. And the shooter boys were in the middle, therefore they'll be the hardest ones to engage, where if you can't just go tag shooter boys easily. You have to engage the chopper boys on the flank. And I push them up on the objective, and at that point I have 5 units of sticky on the objective. I don't think most people are removing that off of that objective. But also is on layout 1 is they got this really good angle up on that terrain where all 5 of those rocket launchers and any of our small arms that I can take from that L in the no man's zone and shuffle commandos over, I can get shoved down 8 rockets, 7 rockets really safely down that lane. Where my opponents, if they walk out of their main castle on layout 1, I'm lighting them up. And the death shot are the Blight Lord Terminators were in that position. I had 2 turns where I forced the Blight Lord Terminators to have to pop -1 damage for 2 CP to not get lit up by 7, 8 rocket launchers on different activations.
Yeah.
And I still killed with all the shooter boys, the bikes, a grenade from a storm boy units, and commandos, all that stuff. Like, they handled all 10 of those Terminators by themselves. By just sheer attrition across 2 turns of just throwing dice at you and chipping away, grenade here, charging you with all of it, and so forth. And before they got to the Terminator unit, the Demon Prince behind Mortarion would walk on the objective to try to slow it down, and like all of a sudden the Demon Prince is engaged with 5 units of boys. They have reasonable hits, so just like they're so bogged.
Yeah,
and some commander units also.
Hits, exactly right. They all getting lethal from Makari. That's awesome.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So that was a tactic that I found very much on there. You could say that 5-layer, 4-layer cake of boys.
Yeah.
For that tactic was a big thing that I developed after the team event last weekend with the original version of the list, or the last version of it. And sticking the objectives was one of the most important things for orcs, because orcs pressure you, push you off objectives. If you stick the objectives, they don't just kill you and take the objective away. They have to go stand on the objective, and sometimes people have a hard time doing that. So that was on there. Or sometimes we just fail a bunch of battle shots and we get a little bit pressed. So sticking is important. Second was on there. All right, back to the actual game. So that tactic is going to be used in all 5 games on that flank. Then Mortarion at this point, he moves up the Terminator. Seeing the Terminator aren't really in threat. They're not scared of being shot by a bunch of random rocket launchers, but they get 3-up saves, a bunch of shooters. It's unassuming. My damage is very unassuming.
Yeah.
And I am. He pushes Mortarion up. He pushes the Demon Prince up. He pushes the Rhino up in that flank that has a bunch of plague casters in it. Pushes some spawn up. Try to screen out, play the game. He got some secondaries that need to do that. And we just start connecting, right? And then I push up forward. I march forward. And he's like, okay, well, I gotta stop you. Like, you're gonna make it to Miami. I take 6 secondaries every game. I take engage and behind lanes, except for against Knights. At that point, I'm playing the killy game. And I get engaged 4 points turn 1 because these commando units just walk over the edge. They get it.
Mm-hmm.
But also I'm set up where if you shoot these commando units at a lot of angles, you are being shot at by rocket launchers. So that's the important part. Or shooters. I'm saying, hey, Death Guard, half of your stuff damage is on melee. Engage the commander units. Commander units are a little hard to shoot because of stealth, distraction, rot. And then if you do go engage in melee, I'm just gonna start wailing on you. Is the idea.
Yeah. You're right about the fact that people have to chew through the boys, and when you have that many different units and you're setting up heroics to designate attacks, so you're kind of just stuck in combat with a bunch of power claws, a handful of chopper punches, and they're all essentially getting lethal for the most part.
Yep.
So like
Gaz is in the center mass.
So the melee damage is kind of unassuming in that way as well. People aren't expecting that. They're just like, oh, I'm just constantly taking lethal saves constantly. So all these units are taking just saves from these boys en masse.
Yep.
Pretty sweet.
That is one of the best parts about the list is that it does not do damage through normal means through one activation. It does damage through a process.
Yeah. Through attrition, right? Like you said.
Attrition, yep.
An attrition, because you're losing boys the whole time. It's not that they're not taking damage from you. It's just after they've killed half your army, you still have all your power claws left, essentially.
Yep. Like I said, I have 15 knobs in the army. They're just buried in everything else. And for those 15 knobs, I pay like 189 points, I want to say, or 88 points for 15 knobs. That's almost BOGO knobs. 6 boy squads, that's 6 knobs. Those are 8-point knobs. This is the way I approach a lot of that power claw math.
That is some power claw math right there. So that's any more takeaways from that game, because we actually had pictures. We don't have pictures for all your deployments, sadly, but we did have that game, and we have another one. So I just let the chat so they understand that while we're unpacking all this. But any other takeaways from that game?
Not really, other than Morty ran up. He got greedy with Morty. He failed a 6-inch charge to kill like a commando or two, and that didn't really change too much because Gaz went and soloed Morty at that point. Yeah, Gaz and his Meganobs did drop him down to 1 wounds, and then Lethal Boys finished him off.
Yes, exactly. Like we were just describing.
Yeah, and that's the thing I do want to sit there and say is that in this matchup, normally it's really bad in Death Guard because our damage profiles really hurt hard by -1 to hit. But when you have lethals, it really doesn't matter. It actually is fine because you have lethal hits, which means you're hitting bad, you're wounding bad. Lethal hits just go straight through that. And I had no problems killing Death Guard units en masse, mostly thanks to the idea of lethal hits being active for almost the entire game. And all that game was over in 3 turns. We practically called it because it was down to a few models left, and I'm still have half my boy models.
Exactly.
So
yeah, and you'll see that this is repeated, chat, where he essentially destroyed everybody. So yeah, and yes, just for chat's understands, yes, he was constantly declaring the wall on Gaz so that Gaz can use Makari's banner. That way he can constantly give out lethals and constantly keep up to 5-0 Feel No Pain. Just so everybody understands that, so we're clear. And shout out to the Bad Dog with 10 walk tactic championships. Whoa, to the Bad Dog. Well, thank you for that. You're very, very generous. All inspired by Mork Perry, hopefully. And thank you for the support. It matters a lot as the wall is growing and we hope to be successful. So thank you very much for that. It means a lot. It's very generous of you. And I'm very humbling every time. So thank you, Bad Dog. So let's get into the second matchup where we have the Black Templars. We do have pictures of this game as well, from what I understand, the deployment templates, right? So we have the Castellan, they're playing Gladius Task Force, double Castellans, an Emperor's Champion, Lieutenant with Combi, and then double Marshal. We have an Assault Intercessor squad with the basic Intercessor, 1 Impulsor, an Incursor, double Redemptor Dreadnoughts, double Repulsor Executioners, a Scout, and then 2 5-man units of Sword Brethren. So what are you thinking going into this matchup?
So it's Marines. I am, as an orc, very, very comfortable fighting Marines. You're going to hit me, I'm going to hit you harder. Also, T5 protects very well in this matchup because majority of Marine melee profiles are 4s and 5s. And so, like, the bad grinds of having to dig for that, Marines really don't like having to roll 4s and 5s. Their army operates generally trying to be a play and freeze, and Oath of the Moment helps out with that, but they're Black Templars, so they don't have Oath of the Moment. That was really just like, there was something on this game with playing Search and Destroy, so no, I'm going to be a little clustered. This is an important thing for playing this list, is practicing deployments. Therefore, you know on each layout and typical matchup and factions you play against the matchup, how you're going to deploy, how you're going to approach the game. So like, I already practiced deploying with this army. I know how to deploy it. I'll get it done quickly because I know what my opening period is going to be. I know how I'm playing the game for the first 2 turns of the game. Right? My opponent after that is determining how I'm playing the game because what do they have left? Are they in a winning position? Then I have to sink. Right? My opening is figured out. So we kind of see on there in Search Destroy. This is after his turn 1 movement. He ran at me in a certain way. He put out 10 scouts, 10 assault intercessors to try to block my army. Yeah. I have Storm Boys. He does pick up I want to say 7, 8 Storm Boys turn 1. He picks a fair amount of boys. He drops me actually down to 3 solo knobs in this game, which is hilarious. Because solo knobs, this game was solo knobs and solo rocket launcher. So anytime you kill a boy squad, you kill 8 models. You left the 2 most important parts of the 8 points model that do the majority of all the damage. So that was awesome. And
so you're taking damage opening. It looks like he's shooting down that line of fire. I mean, you can't really keep yourself super safe. What do you got to say about that for people that are like, well, I'll just get shot off the table? I mean, you kind of described it. They kill the non-important stuff to a degree. But what else?
And they have to concentrate and make sure they kills. He killed a couple units and then didn't kill all the rest of the units down to a full. But if you notice here on these units is you think they're layered. Again, they're not layered. They're side by side. So I just want to run at me. My entire front line is nothing but knobs of power claws. So you can't just run at me as if he's going to jail 1 unit and try to body block. I'm no, if you're going to do that, I'm just going to hit you with all the power claws. So you can't jail me in melee, right? Because you're engaging. On that front line, I have about over 10 units with power claws on the very front model. So it's kind of hard to do that. And then I put, in this game in particular, the Search and Destroy, you can notice over on this right flank.
25.
There's 25. Yeah. Yep, I put 5 over there and the fall 1 over in the Nick Navati objective. That's baby Nick. You can look at the ever images, guys, and that's him in those teenage years. Shout out to Richard Siegler for making those way back in the day.
Thank you, Siegler.
So on that flank, I put out 5 commanders in front, another 5 commanders up front, and those are the 2 naked squads of Haverna and Champas. And I put the power commandos behind them. He says he's going to try to tie me up with the Emperor's Champ with a reactive move because he's Gladius. And the Impulsor, that Emperor's Champ gets chased around the board for the next 2 turns with reactive moves, trying to get back in boats and trying not to die. As that just did not work out for him. But I have it screened in such a way, and that one is a different type of screen. I'm not side by side, but I know it's on the flank, so it's not the front lines, right? So that's where I take a different theory on how the screen is on the flanks and on the front lines. You need to screen in 2 different ways, definitely as an orc. Because at that point, I want to keep those, commando units I have 2 custom shooters, favorite gun ever, I swear. Oh, I love the custom shooter. The rocket launcher, the breacher ram, the power claw. I want to keep all those safe because I want to shoot and charge with those units. So that's why I double layered screened them to keep them from getting tagged easily. Therefore, they would all the activations. But he runs at me. So my next turn, what happens is you see develop here. So I run Gaz up into this right middle L on that one, or left middle L. I push Zodgrod and 2 bike squads over there. One of the things I love about bikes is that it gets Marines, and when there's Marines catch out in the open trying to screen out melee, they are not good at taking saves from bikes, right? I put 30 bike shots at you. That's 15. That's 10 hits.
Yep.
That's going to be 8 to 9 wounds. There's going to be 2.5 dead Marines very safely because they're AP1. They're close by. I'm going to charge. There's been Zodgrod and his graduate. I pop. They're out in the open, so I pop the extra AP there, and they're AP1 now. So I just clean up the entire screen there, and that was something on theirs. Is those sword rows behind them. He's like, I really should have had those behind the road. I did not think your shooting would push for that many Marine bodies, and not have get all the units in the melee with me. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happened.
You said you shot him with Zod's unit.
I shot the front unit with Zod and the bikes. 30 biker shots.
Yeah.
That are obviously the 30 shots is rapid fire and extra AP. They're out in the open.
And they're twin
lengths.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. It's great. They don't have all the extra rules from they have assault base, but they don't get the sustains.
Yeah.
But that's still a lot of shots, right? Yeah. And Zod unit shoots the rest of it, charge it, and then I tag the entire unit with Zod unit. And then since Gretchen are less than an inch wide in width on the 25 mil bases, I charge the 2 bike squads and only 1 sword bro can swing on an interrupt or a fight on death onto the bike squads. And 1 sword bro does not hurt bikes.
No.
2 free sword bros hurt bikes, but when you have to swing on the Gretchen because you're not in base to base with the units.
Yeah.
So other guys can't swing off of them. I just the Gretchen are just protecting me, and that's a tactic that I use a lot with Zod is to get around power units that have fight first, get fight on death, to keep them from consolidating all their attacks into a few targets. I hit them with a bunch of units, wrap them with Zod, and then all my orc units fight through Zod with the power claws. And sometimes Gaz too. And like the fight on definitely interrupt the fight first. I could not ever put all your attacks in your unit into every single into 1 unit, right? Or 2 units, etc. Every single one of your models are swinging into a different unit. And that's that. My units are going to be fine, right? Like maybe I'll lose a model or 2. Maybe I'll lose 3 if they're like boy squads, right? Like a Victor's Guard unit activates and kills like 4 or 5 boys. That's not a problem because now the knob's still there, right? But 2 Victor's Guard may kill 10 boys. Yeah. But if 1 Victor's Guard only gets a swing because not all the Gretchen base you and I'm fighting through the Gretchen because they're 25 mils, that's a really hard scenario to do within the fight base. So that's something that's definitely using Zod very well for. I would suggest anyone that's practice that not just in game, set them on the table and learn how to play with it because it makes a big difference for dealing with those melee matchups.
Like he does.
Tactics, bros.
Once you figure out Zod, it's hard to put him down. So yeah, and any other important keys there? Because I mean, at that point, he's kind of just a couple redemptors and maybe a tank free and these gladius, so you can fall back and do stuff. But you've already tagged up a bunch of his units and killed all his chaffing. He hasn't even scored necessarily.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
the game was like 90 to 51. I want to say 96 to 51. He did eventually break out. He eventually tabled because the executioners from Black Templar get full real hits. I killed one. The other one survives because I just take away all of his melee. And eventually, he drops me down to 10 models. Out of my 162 or 63 because of Drukhari. And that's the most models I was down to a whole weekend. So, that was a pretty big deal in that regard. But it wasn't in time. It wasn't he couldn't establish himself on objectives. He couldn't get any primary points. By the time he scored primary points outside of his deployment zone, he lost his home objective.
Yeah. That's wild. And yeah, those Black Templar the Redemptors are pretty crazy. They essentially have mini oath because they're just built-in re-rolls like that. So it is pretty devastating if they keep getting off on you.
Yep. And those executions are so good.
And somebody was saying here, Rungus. I don't know that wild name with that in that picture. You deserve that. New orc player hopping from guard. I still have my guard army. I just love me some teeth. Whoa! You inspired me to play 12 can mob. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey.
Love to hear it, dude. Welcome to the Great War. Shout out to Morty and Glory and them guard players. You know, they're just the other side of the coin in a certain way to us, right? So you like to get stuck in and dirty as a grunt. Anything you want to say to the new git, Orc Perry?
Man, dude, welcome to the community. Welcome to Orcs. Cans is awesome. I love cans. I got 12 myself. Man, play with all the weapons. Try them all out. Grodzic is awesome. Even the big shooters. The big shooters from the cans are actually like not bad against certain type of targets. Devil Wound's just hilariously handy.
I mean, you can just cans are just super fun, man. I think I do have a weird bias towards them, but I also think they're legit. So I'm glad you have them. Figure them out. 12 is a good number to play with and start with. So thank you very much for that, and I appreciate it. Welcome to the Great Wall. So with this matchup over, Mark, let's get into your third matchup. Because you're just overwhelming people here. At least that guy kind of understood what he had to do, right? He's like, I need to start just getting rid of this. So kudos to that Black Templars player. Sorry, my husband will let you. Now we get into the Imperial Knights. So we have, and you were familiar with this player, right? Because this is when we're starting to get into the opponents you're somewhat more familiar with. So we have 2 Crassus Knight. It's one Atropos and then a Knight Castigator, followed by a Knight Lancers. One's a red and one's a white. I really don't know the difference, I guess. They're just different.
They're color coded for which ones have enhancements and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and then a blue Knight Lancer. All right, sweet. And then one had the upgrade. So you're familiar with this player and this setup, right? And you were thinking typically this is a harder orc matchup.
Yep. But in more Dakka, this is a pretty easy matchup. Lethal hits goes the distance. Shooters also strip wounds at Knights. It's because you have so many shots, and this is something I practice to do. That is a skill with this list, is effectively rolling your shooting phase with all your shots. So he went first, ran at me, killed 2 units right off the bat. The Castigator was actually like kind of spooky in here because I did have leave 2 Meganobs hanging, and he killed 2 Meganobs. But also in here, that's kill 2 Meganobs, and then that's another boy unit that orc unit that's just left alive. So he fights me, moves up, gets some objectives. He only takes fixed to secondaries because he hates having to do all the mission stuff with Imperial Knights, and he's like, I'm just going to focus on dominating the board and killing you and being fast. So with that said, I forced him to take tactical, and you hate to take tactical with Knights against something like this, right? Because you need to be fighting, charging, shooting. You need to be doing all of it to get your secondaries. And so with that said, he engaged me, he ran at me, he fight me up, get some stuff on there, get some 65 on, developed on objectives that I can't quite get to. The Atropos is not good into my profiles. If he can shoot Meganov, it's good, but I had, 23 drops. I knew where the Atropos was, and then I could just hard counter deploy it at the angles that I couldn't activate at. And then, put 2 Knights Lancers up, and my next turn comes around with just the shooter shots. This list puts out. So the way I look at it is each shooter boy shot is 25 shooter shots. This is not counting rocket launchers. So 75 bullets coming from shooters, and I'm in the wall, so I have sustainers. And from the shooter boys, you have 29 sluggers. From the slugger boys, you have 13 shooter slugger shots from commando squads. But beef up ones, 4 more from the other units. And then the burners, you have 3 bomb squigs, you have a grenade. You have Zodgrod's unit. It's awesome for just shipping wounds off of big stuff because the +1 hit, +1 wounds, sustained hits. And you can pop ignore cover on it if that unit's very fast, so you can find angles where you're either when you're not getting cover, or since it's so consistent and putting damage on bigger stuff, ignore cover is handy on it. Guys' squad also puts out 48 to or 36 to 52 shots. So that's one there. I strip 16 wounds off of Big Knights for just rolling 6 of the wound, and with almost 300 shots. It's like 270 something I had. And I do that in about 5-ish minutes to roll all that dice. Now, I practice these type of things to make this efficient. This is a big skill thing on this list is knowing how to resolve your units, pull out the stuff in front of your opponent, but they're understanding what's happening with the rolls, right? So, this takes some effort. This is definitely a learning curve, I think, for a lot of people with this style of list, where you're maximizing every chip damage you have. And then I get in the melee, Gaz takes one Lancers and throws them off the table. And then another Lancer just gets lethal hits off the board with 7 or not words, the other number 13 activations of Ork units. And obviously, I assume the Gas first. The other Lancer does not have a good interrupt. The Lancer will activate, kill a squad, and then I still have all the rest to swing. And I only needed like half the units to kill it. The rest of them just, consolidate on the points, etc. And at that point, the body blocking, I'll kill 2 Lancers right off the rip.
What strats were you using for? Did you use any shooting strats, or did you just use the wall essentially the whole time? Grenades? What kind of?
I just used grenades. I wall with Gaz every turn after the wall was called. Turn 1, I typically don't call that strat, obviously, because it's a positional thing, unless they run at me. If they run at me, then I put guys in the wall. Then I call the wall, and we go. But turn 2, Gaz is going to be in the wall. So typically turn 3, I pop that strat, right? Everything else is grenades. I'll reroll, make sure I don't fail a really silly charge. That happens against Victory Card on stream on that Tortoise's game last weekend, and the weekend before this past weekend. And I just rolled a snake eyes on a biker charge, and that was 5 points. That would have been a win for me at that point, or getting closer to a tie, or more pushing it over if other things going to happen. So things of that nature, that's really where my CP is. Otherwise, I'm just kind of banking it up. Therefore, when the Gaz goes in the wall, they're going to be in the wall. I'm going to have a CP for the real ones the wound because I want that consistent damage out of Gaz's unit. I didn't really pop too many over shots, but here was just trip away 2 knights. The next turn, I killed the 3rd knight. I have a Lancer now at half, or about to be half, and all is dandy. I got punished for having those 2 Mega Knobs kind of hanging though, and I got killed by a Cascadator because the Cascadator then proceeded to blow up into my army. Cascadator did rip 8 wounds off of. Right. It did rip 8 wounds off of the other Lancer, the last Lancer. And then it killed 36 of my models. Not counting wounds.
That's awesome.
For all the knobs, all the bikers.
And that's very worky. And this game just visually, this game looks very fun when you see it on the table, all the bodies,
yeah,
trying to kick their way through all the boys. And yeah, it does feel like an advantage because once they're stuck in, you're just kind of chipping away at them. You got a ton of OC on them, so it feels pretty sweet. And so, how this game go? And did he eventually dig his way out like the Black Templars guy? Was he just kind of tabled?
No, he was eventually it came down to this thing where he had 1 after post at half wounds, and he was I was going to go take his home objective. I was taking his home objective. Already max bring it down. I got 16 on assassinate at that point. I didn't even worry about killing that thing. I would have killed it if the Cascadator didn't explode and kill 6 units. And I would have had the resource at that point to chip it down. But at that point, I did not. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, cool. I've already practically maxed out my secondaries, then I'm just going to go stop you from scoring points. Right? Big Knight can only hold 1 objective at a time.
Yep.
Even though it's sticky, I have with OC5, I got all the OC2 bodies randomly running at you.
Yeah.
Right? And at that point, I had all my boy squads were there was 1 dead, and then everyone else was 4 or 5 models. Still had some bikes here, still had Zodgrod's unit. I just had a bunch of OC2 put everywhere where it didn't matter, and his secondaries was going to be bad. He just didn't. You can't play the game with 1 model at the end of the day.
Was your secondary? Did you keep your behind enemy lines and engage, or did you bring it down knowing you would kill them?
Knowing that I was kill them because I know the matchup here and the lethal hits goes that distance, I didn't bring it down and assassinate.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. I like when that's what I like about Knights. Kind of, you still can get those fixed games in. Also, just can be kind of killy. Right? You're like, all right, you want to play this? You want to play this? So yeah, let's go. Great job there for that guy. Shout out to him. And then we go into your fourth game, which was again the Stinky Boys came back for round 2. So now we have double Lord of Contagion and then 1 Lord of Virulence, followed by a bunch of Poxwalkers. So a 20-man unit and 5 10-man units of Poxwalkers, 2 Chaos Spawn units, 3 minimum size unit of Death Shroud Terminators, 3 heavy Blight drone launchers, and then 2 Mephitic Blight haulers. I was messing up with those Bs and launchers for names right now, enunciating. But so what was he forego all those characters so he can bring more stuff, clearly more tanks. Brought a bunch of infantry in this case, hoping he can regen off you. How'd your boys appreciate all the Poxwalkers?
So Shooter Boys dominated this game. Yeah. So this is often the tactic when Poxwalkers battle line, but he also gets free units extra coming one from a turn from like turn 2, 3, and 4. Mm-hmm. So he had 30 extra Poxwalkers. And they infiltrate. Great, but I win the roll off, so I make sure I zone out as much from the middle and his natural objective, and then I just hard take again, similar thing that I did against the Templars game, where I just look at every deck and I put 30 commandos behind this ruin, looking at his deployment zone at this hard angle. And you're not establishing yourself on this objective. I ain't allowing it. And commandos are really important here because, like, normally it's hard to kind of body block and move block Death Shroud units with 1 unit. Because the Overwatch from Death Shroud's units are actually pretty decent at killing just infantry. Trash, and commandos can be Overwatched. So that was great. When I went first, jailed one side of the board with just 5 commandos, where Death Shroud were like, great, I'm not running past this unit. I'm not developing my board state with the Death Shroud. And then I ran forward. I killed up 30 Poxwalkers and shooting. Finding the angles and just putting them down the shots. And I found an angle that I could run gas down. Because again, I have so many drops where I can look at my opponent's deployment and then figure out where I'll put gas with the Meganobs. Again, being a little bit more safe with those Meganobs. But with that smaller footprint, I can find angles where I can stop people from either getting that angle because I can body block you with Spike, Storm Boys, Commandos, or you're just not set up to find this one little niche area that Gaz and his Meganobs just run down. While the rest of the trash protects me from melee. So that happened in this game. I locked him up. We're playing Purge the Foe, by the way. He never gets hold more. There's 2 turns where he didn't hold any because I just take his home objective. And then he never got killed more, which is something you would expect against this list. You would expect to get killed more against this army.
Yeah.
But by the time it was, by the time he was able to start killing stuff efficiently, I'm connecting with Gaz in his deployment zone, and Gaz first looks at the first unit of Death Shroud he runs into. I actually, in this game, in turn 2, I did CP reroll at turn 1. I CP rerolled the advance roll on Gaz, because I rolled that 1, and I really wanted to be more, right? Because I'm planning for next turn, pushing them up there. If I get a decent advance roll, the next turn, I would be in a good spot to charge and push up into my opponent's deployment zone. So I said my CP actually reroll a deployment zone or advance roll. And I see that's something to be able to acknowledge it when you need to do it for future turns is with that power unit. You need to get in that spot. Don't just say, I rolled a 1. That's a great place to spend a CP on that 1, right? Because if you get anything better than that, that unit's going to be more alive the next turn. Future plays. And it was, I'm bailing up, locking them up, behind me lines, engaged, not a problem. And just chewing through all the Poxwalkers. And Death Shroud come out, they start hitting up a bunch of units. But, they're actually, Death Shroud are good at killing models. Yeah. What they're not doing good at killing is about 40, 50 orc models that you can't all, it's all hitting you at once, right? Power Claws with lethal hits, actually really good on mass against Death Shroud. Because you're getting past that wound roll, that -1 hit is just not mattering there, right? Half your hits are going to be lethal hits. So like we had a Death Shroud unit that hit with 7 power claws and had several lethals go through. He failed a couple there. Choppas do some damage with lethal hits, and Death Shroud units were just one Death Shroud unit just died to trash, claws, and melee, and got trapped with one character just slowly killing as many orc bodies as you can before he dies.
Yeah.
And then Gaz went through 2 Death Shroud units and their Lord's Decay agent. So that is something that is drastically strong. Is then this matchup no, it's very bad. But with Gaz always being in the wall, he's so much faster and hitting those units, those power units that they have, they're allergic to gas because the lethal fives wounding on twos, hitting on twos, and that reroll wounds to make sure you just not missing. You're applying probably 6, 7. I just did the meme. Sorry, children. Sorry, adults. I just said the numbers. Anyway, you're applying that many saves, typical on Death Shroud, that are 4 wounds, you're 4 damage. So just get them out of here. And then the rest of the Meganobs look at the Lords and chop them up.
The list does work in that way where they do take a chunk of flesh out of you, but as he's describing over and over, you're kind of just enduring it, staying within lethal aura, a lot of positioning, but really you're chipping them away with just a bunch of chopper blows over and over and power claws, slowly whittling away at these elite lists. And if it's chaffy, well, then you hit them with a bunch of small arms fire that you're constantly running them into, and then you're charging bikers or storm boys into them or commandos or whatever can get close to him. So he has tools for these situations. And I will say, like he mentioned, the time it takes to practice and understand how to roll the dice is a skill in itself, because I know I was timing out kind of thing where I was like, wait, what? I never shoot with these units. Am I rapid fire range? And just kind of doing all that. So it's really fun though, and it does have a thematic feel to it as well. So definitely got to give this list some love, because I know when Mark Paris told me first about it when it was first being developed, which is something else people should take to heart. As we're moving into new meta, it takes a little bit to develop your lists and kind of push out the stuff that you're not truly sure with, yet you need some practice with it, like he did with the Snaggers and the 20-man unit of mobs, even though the video we did with him was like a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, whatever. So pretty amazing stuff to see. And let's go into your last matchup, which was into the Drukhari, which is said to be a hard orc matchup right now for good reason. So we have Lady Milos, whatever, Slilax, and double succubus, 3 witches, 5 venoms, a Chronos, double Hellion units, and then 3 Reaver squads with 2 Scourge units with heavy weapons. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of problems within the Eldar matchup, typically into orcs. So what were you thinking going into this one? Had you practiced into them? Because they're one of those armies that you're not always see, but when they show up, the guy usually knows what he's doing if he's still playing them, right?
Yep. So with this matchup, most time it is comics is into it, so it is not bad, or it is bad on paper, right? They got lots of good profiles into us, but they also have a lot of bad profiles into us. T5 is a really great point against this matchup. On top of that, your models are cheaper than theirs, and you outnumber them, 3-1, in some places 4-1. So if you can trade 2 bodies for 1 body, eventually the math game says you're going to end up on top. So that's one of my ways I approach this. But there's also a very important control element in the matchup where you can lean into those advantages that you have. You have great trash shooting. You have great potential to body block, deny their objectives. And at the end of the day, you're cheaper per model, and your models are more lethal on a 1v1 scale than theirs is to you. Okay? So, one is number 1 rule. I cannot allow this to happen. I cannot Reaver jet bikes, move over units, and get advantage. They cannot fly over break screens. So, he didn't have any infiltrations in his army, and I have a bazillion drops, right? So I developed my deployment zone, knowing that the path, again, that big boy squad of, this time it was 40, walking side by side of my natural objective. They're going to stick it. They're going to stay together as one big mob. I got commandos, bites, and some storm boys protecting them. The screen will allow them to develop, right? Then Senator Gaz is so strong in this matchup because the shooting from the Meganobs in this army deletes most of these units, hilariously. That are not 2-1s. The 2-1 ones you can pop ignore cover and probably AP1 and then they die. Right? Like you can kill like 5 Hellions in shooting alone with like Gaz and Meganobs. Because you're in the wall, you have AP1 ignore cover. That's a lot of shots. And also, witches are kind of allergic to Overwatch when you have, 36 to 52 shots. Right? They are not gonna like that.
Yeah, they'll just eventually fall over. The problem the way to solve all orc problems is volume of dice. You'll hear that throughout every edition. How did you end up interacting with venom crawlers?
With the venoms?
The venoms. Sorry, CSM. Yeah,
you're good. My brain went to a different place itself. I was like, wait, hold on. So venoms are like an aqua profile for us to deal with. So we got in a position where he knows that I deployed in such a way he looked down like I don't have any good jumpy targets for the Reaver turn 1, nothing good for Hellions, and nothing in my army kills 5 commandos in melee safely. Because like the 5 naked, no special weapons, no character sergeants or witches, only strength 3, maybe strength 4 based on the drug you get. Those don't kill commandos very efficiently. They don't kill T5 wolf bodies very well. And on top of that, I have random flamers. So, Overwatch is saying sometimes in that game with one burner for the commando squad. Because, they got 6 up on the 6 on witches for shooting. With that said, I push an advantage where, you got to break some of these screens and deal with it. And the way that I deal with venoms is I make sure that I can tag out multiple at once and overwhelm them. So, he had to move up some to get some shots, try to deal with the commandos, right? He has to do the shots. Well, in the wall, all the rocket launchers have sustain. Okay? So, the -1 to hit, actually, mathematically, doesn't really change anything. It's 1 to 3. Every 6 I roll is 2 hits. And sometimes 2 hits is all you need to do to kill Venom. But they're also weak to Zodgrod shooting. Just that +1, -1 means I'm just stacked it in the 4s. I'm then winning on 5, so if I chip a few wounds down, that's great. And setting up at the same time my bomb squeaks and a grenade. So turn 1 when he moved up, kind of still casually, but kind of he body blocks me a little bit, tries to deny me some primary from here, or not deny. He tries to deny me some, sticky on the center objective for not just being there with a boy squad. I move up, gain my advantage, and be happy. Then he has an out engagement. He engaged me, sets up some venoms, get some shots. Next turn, I call the wall. We drop 1 venom down to 1 and kill 3 others. Right? Because I'm healing them in melee. Bikes, Storm Boys, Power Claws, all this stuff is great for doing it. Zodgrod, all the nonsense shooting. 1 rocket launcher shot goes through, and there's a chance that it just kills the venom. If not, it's probably shooting 3 wounds off of it.
Yeah.
So in that turn 1, I've never seen where he thought he was safe from the squad of Lilith, because she has fight first with her witches. Yeah. How I got around that is I charged again with Zodgrod into them and tagged a bunch of Hellions with the commandos, and again made it where the Hellions could only swing into 1 commando, or 1 Hellion can swing into 1 commando or interrupt or fight on death. Not a fight on death, just an interrupt. Or the normal activations. And Lilith is engaged with Zodgrod's unit. I keep Zodgrod out of line of sight. He's not in the fight because I don't have good precisions. And then I charge a boy squad, tag get within 1 of the witches, but not Lilith, because Lilith's in basic-based contact with a Gretchen. So she can't swing over on the boys. And the rest of the boys just take that unit and just flip it over, right? Even if she has fight first, they kill, I think it's 7, 8, because they lost some to that deadly demise because I popped that boat for bomb squid, grenades, Zodgrod shooting. And I think a biker unit shooting too. And because venoms are, the stuff is really awkward, but 6 wounds is fragile to a bunch of nonsense being thrown at you. You just gotta start getting thrown a bunch of dice at them, and they're just not gonna survive at that shit. At that rate.
Just put them through. So humiliating.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. So in that case, and also Zodgrod and his units, handled Lilith's fight first, and the boys just took Lilith's squad and just threw in the gun. And Zodgrod, the Zodgrod's direction still got activate, and we, with another commando squad, we killed 5 witches with Lilith, a Venom that was in that spot was shooting, and killed 5 Hellions in their L on layout 1.
Oof.
In no man's. So I worked around that Zod, and I pushed up on another flank on that same ruin, on that natural objective of theirs, and I put 5 Storm Boys and 6 spikes on the other Venom and just take it out. And all right, now that was one bike, one of that in the Storm Boys, and then the other bike, the other Venom in their deployment zone, bike got pushed up because on layout 1 you got a little centerpiece, a little 4x6. I push bikes into it and call the wall. They go practically with the charge into your opponent's deployment zone. And the other flank very similar. So like if you look over here, this is not the same game, but I push these bikes up into the opponent's deployment zone. Lilith is over in their natural L expansion. So I take that out. He tries to jail out all, 40 boys on my natural objective. Try to slow him down. But since I have him base to base, he can't charge one unit and kind of survive a heroic, right? Because I have a guaranteed heroic because they're literally side by side. They are base to base contact with my Everboy squad.
Yeah.
It's one big super mob.
It's so funny.
And there's never all these boys over here ultimately have a line of sight to one Venom, and then I have 3 commando squads over that flank. So I throw 2 bombs, we shoot 2 rockets, and we drop that Venom. And great, we're in an awesome spot. Top of 2, I dropped 5 Hellions. I killed Lilith and her squad. I killed 4 Venoms, dropped 1 down to 1 wound, and killed 15 witches. And I also, the Storm Boys there will jump up and leverage into it, was able to kill out to drop 1 Scourge unit to 1 and drop 1 Scourge unit completely with Storm Boys. And also now there's no threats for the Meganobs at all, right? Like Hellions can get there, but Hellions do not want to risk that in the 5 of pain, and 2 of them are safe, right? That is not the type of profile they want to be fighting. And in this game, Gad's unit moves up in the center, shoots some stuff, establishing control over the center. It sits in the center, it goes forwards, backwards, and back again into my deployment zone to kill out the rest of this trash that is running from me in the following turns. And I never lost a single Meganob in this game.
Oh.
Right. I had the chance to lose 1 wound in the Meganob because the last Venom exploded. And hilariously killed one of his models, his 1-man Scourge unit that's survived turn 1. And it was running away from me, going for my home objective. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess the Venom will kill it because he sacrificed the last of the Hellions to charge at the end of my fight phase because he didn't want all the Meganobs and gas shooting to kill free trash units.
Yeah,
right?
It's a ton of shots. That's so hilarious how scared they have to be as Eldar with 1 wounded pop to do this. And right here you see one of your past opponents, John Cavell. I played versus Mark Perry recently with my Salamanders. Thought his list was absolutely brilliant. Some real out of the box thinking. So shout out to you for coming through. Whoa, for them for still being green. But yeah, the list is brilliant. And really, when you first proposed it to me, I was kind of like, is Mark just making something only he could play? Like, what is this? Like, what are you describing to me, man? More Dakka? Are you just trying to show that only you want to play this? But as I played it, and as other people on the Discord have played it, and a lot of people are trying to figure it out, I do like the changes that you implemented. And really, you can see how it really would just pay off into these matchups. And the meta's in a weird spot, right? You can't really just tech for I have to beat one particular mean faction. Is you have to be prepared for a bunch of stuff, which means really you have to be able to implement your own game plan, your own style of how you're going to approach the game and win it as an orc, because you're not trying to go toe to toe with elite units necessarily, or cunning like what's it, shenanigans like Eldar, for example. You just need to implement your game plan, and like Mark had to do, maybe you might have to run backwards and chase down that finagly little Eldar unit, but you're gonna get him eventually, so I absolutely love it, right? And implementing our will as orcs. Anything else you want to say about that matchup?
No, really, like it was all great games. Like that matchup, I've practiced it. I knew what it does. And there's lost conditions there. That is a game where if I was not trying to take it as serious, I could have lost that game if I just like ran him carelessly. This is a match that is definitely a matchup you have to think about. You have some strong advantages, and you need to force those advantages to be relevant. So trade those bodies.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, don't extend. Tell them that hey, look, you got to run and fight me. Don't just run at them, right? Because like actually they don't handle you at mass. They handle you in controlled burst. Force the issue.
Yeah, typically they're implementing their will, able to pick us apart. If we're playing our typical warhorde style, they'll go hunt down certain units, maybe one truck here or there, do their little shenanigans, and pull you apart. In this case, because your units are literally side by side, you're not being pulled apart in that way, and you're moving towards them as a mass, like you described. So it's very,
very everyone's supporting each other. Everyone holds hands.
They have to decide, hey, I have to multi-charge you. Okay, thanks. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Kill 5 boys from every unit. Go ahead. It's fine. Even more. I'll take 20 out of these just ablative wounds essentially that I have while everything else is hitting you and getting lethal. So that's absolutely sick. Any closing thoughts on the list? I mean, you don't think you'd have to change it. Any tips for anybody that wants to run it? Maybe slightly different units they want to use, or just kind of or is the only advice really just get used to the dice and the deployment? What is the kind of feedback you can give to someone, even me, right?
Well, I think for giving out advice of both types, for list stuff, you don't need all this extra things. This is a really fine-tuned, you could say beast in its own regard. But the concept today is doable in a lot of different things. Guys with Magnovs, I highly suggest that unit. Learn to kind of play with it and use it almost kind of like how Calgar is with Vicious Guard. You're going to be aggressive but kind of cagey with it at the same time. So those type of skills, watch some of those. Roll your units out. Get comfortable. Know what your shots do. Your melee profiles. Your shooting profiles. Practice rolling your dice efficiently, be able to read your dice efficiently, and get a handle on them, right? And same thing with your models. Practice deploying this list, practice moving it. Like I have had, let me think here, 7 games on the clock of this list now. I've never clocked out once. 3 of my opponents have. Right? Because they're just trying to figure out what they got to do. There's a pressure of like, your opponent has to figure it out themselves, and they have to figure it out on their time, not on your time, right? And I know my game plan. I know my opening. All my time in the early game is all kind of scripted. Like I know where I'm deploying stuff. I'm not thinking about the game in the beginning of the game. When I start the game, I already know what I'm doing for the first 2 movement phases typically, right? Unless they do something that really throws me off my opening, you can say like, yeah, maybe I need to think about that. But if you spend a lot of time thinking about how your opponent plays the game beforehand, that's more homework. So, this list really rewards homework and working out your hands of dice and models, right? Good disciplined players, if you know how to like utilize those skills, like this type of list will go the distance with you. If you're not as disciplined on all those levels, it's going to be hard for you to play with this. And with that, you can drop the model counts. I posted some lists with Squig boys where you can take advantage of a leader style of this list. Drop all the boys, even though I think they're one of the best parts of the list because of the sticky objectives, trash, efficient T5 8-point models. I love Ork boys. You can bring in all the thicker stuff and play a thicker version of this list. And I think Squig boys are super strong in More Dakka because putting them in the wall turn 1 when you go second, allowing the rest of your army setup is awesome because they're a great reactionary way to use that stratagem. Turn 1 if you go second. And then the other thing is the reroll wounds and stratagem is huge for Quick Hog Boys because, like, Quick Hog Boys, have an anti-vehicle monster 4+. That's only 50%. As soon as you have rerolls, it turns into a 75% chance. And that's a they say solid. Like that's a huge increase for consistency purposes. So like, I think Squid Boys would have great play. Like I could totally see like playing like three Squid Boys, multiple Meganov bricks, even some just naked ones, and like bike storm boys. All the commando units, triple commandos, you can do it away with like 20. But I think like two to three storm boys, two to three bikes, two to three Squid Boys, two to three Meganovs, and like running a much more elite version of this. It's fast, jails you, and hits you with gas. Right, your idea is you're simplifying the board state to make it where gas can just dominate the late game if you're playing 5 turns. Otherwise, you're probably playing 3 turns because like the idea is the list is your opponent can never hold an objective. I had one game, and that was against Knights because an after post. No, it actually it did hold an objective from 1 turn. I only had one game out of these 5 games where my opponent held a home objective for 5 points. No, there's one overtime against Black Templars where it came up because they had bottom turn. Or no, they had 1 turn of run a character on there. So 2 times out of 25 turns of scoring primaries against people or against me. Only 2 out of those 25 times people got objectives outside of their deployment zone.
Yeah, I can.
That's
how it really does work. And that's what people just need to kind of keep in mind. It's very imposing our will, and it will take a little bit of a learning curve. So I think that's good feedback, personally for me as well, as I'm going to run it. If you're a channel member, you got one from all the gifted, make sure you go vote. If you guys decide you want me as the channel members want me to run more Dakka, I can try running Perry's list for my after action report. So go vote in there if you got a channel member, like some of the new green gits that he spawned on here today. So sweet. Well, thanks a lot. I think that was great advice in that way. Any last words or remaining thoughts?
Remember, guys, be cunning but brutal.
Be kind but cunning but brutal. I thought you said kind. I was like, what? No, I was like, I messed up your Archimedes. My bad. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to give this a try. But I'm also pretty excited about our affiliate link. So if you want to check out lighter creative battle mat gridded wargaming mats, I highly suggest them. They're awesome. I use them all the time. So visit Lighter Creative Store. We have the link in the description and the affiliation link to help out the channels. We're trying to grow the wall and keep all this good stuff going. So thank you to that. And of course, we're out here with the Dakka. You did inspire me the changes do inspire me to want to play this again, to be honest, because I did find it very cumbersome with the 20-man unit of boys and then also deploying all of these units and trying to keep them somewhat safe. So that made a lot more sense to me. Got rid of some of the snaggas. That's cool too, to a degree. Still kept all the stuff I like. So yeah, I can totally dig it, and it's pretty inspirational. So hopefully we get some more gets out there and get them votes going, and we'll see what we want to do. Anything else you want to plug personally? More events you're going to try with it? I mean, it seems like you're content with the list.
Man, not really too much. I got some events maybe towards the end of February where maybe I'll be taking it in March. My January is pretty down with between a big team event and we taking this list to it, or the previous version, and then this GT this weekend. Maybe I'll do some RTTs. I gotta go beat Tom Godfrey. I gotta compete with him for best work. I'm number 1 right now globally, but he's probably gonna beat me up pretty soon. I don't know what his schedule is, but I'm gonna try to do a good race with him.
Yeah, he's a busy lad out there in the UK, So shout out to Tom Godfrey. He's a big supporter of the channel and very active. So, he's definitely hunting for it, but so are you. So that's great to hear. Very exciting for this year. So thank you very much to that. And I think we got everything covered that we wanted to cover today. Thanks for staying a little longer. So there's only one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall because we'll knock your teeth out.